Do you believe that every animal, regardless of their past, deserves a second chance at a loving home? And what role do you think community involvement plays in the success of nonprofit organizations that are dedicated to animal rescue? We got a pretty easy question, followed by a harder one. So as we begin today's episode, I want to invite you to really think about these questions as we sit down to chat with our guests. So today we are chatting with Kat, aptly named Kat Ferge, the compassionate co-founder of Kitten Snatchers, hailing from Germany with a childhood surrounded by diverse animals. Kat's journey into rescue work started with Bijou, leading to fostering over 400 animals and co-founding Kitten Snatchers to save more lives in Philadelphia. And we, of course, also have with us another incredibly awesome name, Summer Black. Oh, co-founder of Kitten Snatchers. Growing up in upstate New York, Summer's lifelong passion for animals saw her fostering and saving hundreds and hundreds of furry creatures. So together with Kat, Summer has transformed the lives of countless cats, embodying dedication, compassion, and resilience in their mission to make a difference for animals in Philadelphia and beyond. So welcome to the podcast, Kat and Summer.
Thanks for having us.
Yay! I'm so excited that you're here, and I want to give our audience a little bit of context as to how and why you're here. So I was actually out and about in Philadelphia, and I was seeing my cousin's band. He's in this really awesome, very cool, no doubt cover band, and it was an awesome kind of grunge themed night. So you guys already know I needed to be there, and I look at the back of this pretty big venue, and I see a sign that says Kitten Snatchers. So already I was like, okay, I see the word kitten. I'm getting very excited. And then I walk on over to Kat, who was there, and over blaringly loud music, introduce myself, ask a little bit about what your organization does. And when you said horror themed cat rescue organization, my head exploded. And I knew I had to get you guys to come here and sit down and chat with me. So, of course, I loaded up on my merch, Kitten Snatchers, get them off the streets. And the rest is history. Here we are. So it's so cool to have you on the podcast. And I thanked you before, and I'm going to thank you again so much for all the amazing work that you do to help animals in Philadelphia.
Super, yeah. Like we're super excited to be here, and it was great meeting you. It was like so random.
It was so random.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a great event
It
too.
was a great
So
event. And I remember shouting, like, I have a podcast. You guys should come on. We gotta do something together. So here we are. And maybe we can start off
mhm.
by, and I'll just share a few questions with you both, and you're welcome to both answer them. One can take one question, the other can take the other, entirely up to you. But maybe you can start with sharing maybe a little bit about your organization and maybe a success story that you recently encountered that kind of allows you to make sense of it all, that kind of reinvigorated you or re-inspired you to continue to do the thankless, very challenging work of animal rescue and foster.
I'm laughing because the thankless work is pretty much a theme the last 2 days
As
that
I
Summer and
said
I
that,
have
I was like,
we've been dealing with some drama, but there
God.
are definitely like wonderful wonderful moments also. And those moments are when we get emails, text messages, or whatever, or postcards even from former fosters from our organization that are thriving in the home. For it happens all the time that we get like someone, hey, by the way, this cat is really thriving and we love him so much, or her, and it's amazing. We those are the moments where we say like, okay, this is why we do it. Or you have a sick cat that you take in and you nurse him back to health. Like those are the moments that we really see like, this is why we do it. um And I'm gonna just talk a little bit of how we started. It was like basically Summer and I we met at another shelter that we both volunteered at as fosters and volunteers, and we started working with neonatal kittens together, like basically doing a bottle feeder program, and that's how we met. We became friends, and then during the pandemic in 2020, we there were so many cats that we've just randomly like saw on the street, and we tried to get them into a shelter, but they were all full, and like because of the pandemic, there was like less space basically, and we're just like, maybe we should just do this ourselves. And then and this always makes me laugh because we said like, well, let's cap it at 10 animals at a time for this rescue and let's stay small. And I think now somewhere we have like what about 100 on average all the time in the rescue.
I'm sorry.
Ah! Sorry to yourselves, but not sorry to the animals. Wow. So you obviously saw the need in the community, had this
Definitely.
expectation, and then let's just call it exceeded your own expectations.
Yeah, I mean, it's been definitely a roller coaster these past 3 years, or a little over 3 years now. Um,
Wow.
It's like
Wow.
she said, if I could just add on to what she said, like it, it's unfortunate, and I think this is with anything in life, is that the one bad situation that occurs is the thing that sticks with you. And we constantly have to remind each other that, but we did this.
Yeah.
Even though this person said this about us, because you're always gonna be judged. You're always gonna be criticized, like in anything you do, but animal rescue brings out the trolls that definitely want to
Yeah.
really talk bad about you and how you're not doing anything right. And I think having Kat as my partner, like we constantly are able to remind each other we're okay, breathe, we've got this. Remember this time that this thing that happened. So I think it works. We also fight sometimes, but that's okay.
This sounds like the Beatles. This sounds like exactly what every dream team needs in order to thrive, which is like supporting one another, leaning on one another, but also experiencing friction and talking things out and moving through
Breaking
those
up.
moments together. Breaking up, getting back together. Oh man, we got some drama. Now I'm excited. Um but no, in all seriousness, I actually really appreciate how candid you're being and how vulnerable you're being, because a lot of our listeners, they are like vet techs. They are people with lived experience with homelessness. They are people who are deeply rooted in the rescue world. And I know they don't want to see both of you sit here and say, it's not that crazy. We get along just fine. And here's all the success. So I really appreciate you being real with us and saying, like it sometimes can be really, really difficult. But I love that you have one another. And I'm just curious, like, if you could give me in a few words, like, what are each of your strengths?
God,
um,
hate that.
Sounds like a job interview.
honestly,
It's not a job
maybe
interview.
no, maybe, but maybe I can say like Summer is really, really good with like knowing where to place an animal and like talking to like the different people that we're getting these animals from.
Okay.
I kind of don't want to do that because it's just to me it's like too stressful. I can't. I'm more like, hey, let me do the marketing part. Let me do the promotions. Let me run the events. Let me, do
And
these
she's
things.
great at it.
Because I could not handle the things that Summer has to handle on a daily basis. So
Okay. Summer, would you agree with that?
I do, and I think Kat also comes in where I have a little bit of a short fuse. So sometimes when I'm really having a rough time, like I have to have her step in. She works in corporate America, so she definitely can put that fake smile on and pave stuff over where I'm just like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. Like and I think just to like add on what you were saying before, like I think that people do need to see us be real because they need to understand also that we are humans and that when we get criticized or when a cat gets hurt in our care or a cat dies in our care, that it hurts us. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like it every negative comment, everything that people say about us is actually, we take it very serious.
Yeah.
So, and I think we're both definitely very emotional people at times in good and bad ways. So I don't know about strengths and weaknesses. I don't know.
I love
Like,
that. No, you answered that question better than I asked it. So I really appreciate that. And it sounds like you really just balance one another out. And it makes sense that you're
Definitely.
emotionally invested and you're kind of empathetic. And sometimes you internalize this feedback, as obnoxious as it is, because you rescue animals. You are clearly compassionate people. It would be more bizarre to me if you were like, you know, I don't care what anyone thinks. I don't care about these animals. So like, yeah, this makes perfect sense to me. And you mentioned dealing with the injuries and the death of some of the animals that you're trying to save. And I imagine that's a huge hurdle for you emotionally and for the sake of your organization. So maybe you can kind of walk us through some of the some of the biggest challenges you've faced in running this volunteer-led nonprofit dedicated to rescuing and caring for these stray cats, and how have you overcome those challenges?
Um, I, when we're talking about animals that are injured and getting them back to health, that those are success stories. Those are like things that we're trying to make, we're trying to do the right things. We have amazing vet partners that we're working with that help us doing the right thing. But there are sometimes situations where an animal, we've had that last week, a really like sad story where an animal's body was just not strong enough to fight the infection off, and then it's either Summer or I who have to talk to the vet, and then we'll make that decision. Are we going to hospitalize, and even though there's only a 20% chance, or are we taking the decision to let the animal go without making it suffer further? um and it's usually not about the money. It's really, we're thinking about the animal, and like about, is it fair to the animal to have it suffer for like that minimal chance of survival? And those decisions are not easy. For me, the hardest part usually is talking to the foster afterwards, because a lot of times our fosters take it very, very hard when they lose a foster, because they don't have to deal with that as much as we do. Obviously, it's hard for us too, and it hurts, but you kind of like learn how to cope with that because you see it so much. But for me, it's really like the foster that just kind of like is heartbroken and thinks they did something wrong, which I think is the hardest part for that in that area.
and I want to add to that. It's also like, and it's something that you said, Kat, last week was, I never even met this cat, but it really hurt my heart. And you know what? We don't have to meet these animals. Like we, we care about them. They're in our care, but also we care about our fosters. And if we know that, like you were saying, like it's, if we know they're hurting, they're the ones that did all the care. They were the ones that did everything for this animal. So it's like, it, we hurt for the animal, we hurt for ourselves, we hurt for them also. And and it's frustrating when you see a young healthy animal not survive because they deserved a better life. And it sucks. Like rescue can suck.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting to hear you say that you don't really need to meet an animal to care for that animal. And I think that's what's so interesting, these days with social media and people falling in love with these, animal rescue nonprofits after stumbling upon their, Instagram account, or stumbling upon like a news story about an animal. It is, it invites, like we talked about earlier, these trolls that have an opinion about everything. But it also, I think, invites this here. I'm trying to be optimistic here. It also invites this kind of compassion that you have, because you see an animal that you've never met, but kind of reminds you of your animal, or maybe reminds you of an animal you have met, or an animal you used to have when you were younger. So it's this like double-edged sword, right? Like you can't do anything about these trolls who say like, I would have done this, or you shouldn't have done this. But also there is that ability to cultivate compassion for your cause without having to meet a lot of your supporters in real life. So it's just interesting to
Absolutely.
hear you say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
And I think,
go
you know,
ahead.
to play along with the challenges too, is I think something that becomes really hard with rescue is that we sometimes forget that there are people involved and that you know what I mean? Like the adopters, the fosters, especially. And at the same time, we always have to remind them that it's not about their feelings. And I'm not talking about when a cat dies, but, sometimes people get mad about, really silly things. I'm like, it's really only about the animal. We
Mm,
don't do this for any other reason than to help animals.
yeah,
We are not trying to make people happy so that they can get their kid a cat for their birthday. You know what I mean? That's not obviously when that stuff happens, like, yay, that's amazing. Like, we love happy stories. But like, we only do this for the animals. So, people at the end of the day really have to understand us that we are just human. And, if we're having a bad day, we're not a robot. Like,
right.
like, just roll with it.
Yeah,
And the fosters we have now know this.
right.
And it's totally the ones that don't work out and clash with us, they leave. They go on, they work with somebody else. It's not
Yeah,
all going to be a good fit.
I love
So
that.
I can be a little gruff, real gruff.
We love
I'm hard to
gruff. We
deal
love
with.
we're Philly girls here, okay? We like gruff, we get gruff, we speak gruff, and honestly, this like no frills attached approach, I think is a great way to manage your expectations, manage their expectations, and not expend too much energy, as weird as it sounds, on like placating people.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah,
because that,
100%.
I'm sure you guys maybe did that in the beginning, and like that became exhausted trying to be everything to everyone.
Yep.
And I know that when people try to do that, you know, they end up doing things that are misaligned with their actual mission of helping animals because they want to make someone feel better. You know what I mean? And it gets like messy. So I really appreciate your very straightforward, streamlined approach. Everything you do is for the animal. And honestly, I feel like you ultimately attract people who are really only in this to help the animal, right? Like that, and that's great. That's great that you're attracting people that are like you.
Yeah. I agree with that for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome. So maybe you can kind of walk us through real quick how you and this is a question that I had in mind, but I'm also asking out of curiosity myself, because I think that I know it's about to be kitten season. It is kitten season. And I might do some neonatal kitten work myself this year with my local animal shelter, or maybe even with you guys. And it's
Yeah.
very intimidating to me. It's very nerve-wracking to me, even though I love cats. So my question is, let's say like I'm a new here I am, all wide eyed and excited to help neonatal cats. How do you kind of like ease people into the process of becoming a foster? And like, what do you think maybe kind of sets you apart from other organizations that are managing all these fosters?
I would say I can probably speak to the bottle babies a little bit, what we
Yeah.
do there, and general fosters. I think I'll leave that for summer. I think you have a lot how you place fosters into a foster home and how we vet fosters. In general, I'm not sure if we're really setting ourselves apart, like, that I don't want to say we're better than others. I mean, we're great, obviously, but
Can we also
um,
incorporate the horror theme into your response
yes.
somewhere? Because I haven't even touched on that.
Right. So our fosters, we only have foster homes. So we don't have a location where they can come and pick out cats. It's literally just like, hey, there's a cat that needs help. And then we'll place them. For bottle babies, we don't give you bottle babies and then like, hey, here, don't sleep for like the next 4 weeks. We have a relay system. So basically, what we do is you take the bottle babies for 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, however long you want to sign up for it.
Daycare.
You feed them, or daycare, exactly, or just overnight care. you have to feed them. Like we provide all the equipment from like the bottle to the milk to any supplements that they might need. The heating pad, like the carrier that they live in for the first like 2 to 3 weeks. After that, if you need a playpen, we provide that too. And then you hand them off to the next foster. So we have kind of like a schedule. It's that's
Oh,
hence
cool.
like a relay program. So that because it's a lot of work. Bottle babies are a lot of work, especially when they're super young, like under a week. You have to feed them every 3 hours. So if you're full-time working and you have to get up every night, like every 3 hours, you basically won't get a good night's sleep. It's like having a baby. So we don't expect anyone to do that for a longer period of time because we know we've done it. Summer and I both been there. We've bottle fed for years and
Yeah.
it is exhausting.
Yeah.
And that's why we said like, let's do a relay program. And then obviously if there's anything wrong with the babies, I usually like, they come then to me, sometimes also to Summer, and then we give like them care or whatever. Usually sick animal, like if there's a sick baby, we try to like separate them. So we give like everybody the best chance.
Mm,
Again, the goal sometimes is also like, because like neonatals, they are very fragile. Like you have
yeah.
a 50-50 chance if they make it or not. If we're noticing that some of them are not making it, my goal usually is that they are rather passing with me than with our fosters, just because I know it's sometimes very, very hard on the foster. But it doesn't always work out that way. But
Mm.
yeah, so that's to the bottle babies.
And you mentioned it's kind of like having a kid. And I would like to say that I feel like I am not a mom, but it feels like a lot better than having a kid because I feel like they're much cuter. You don't get to relay a kid off. I'm trying to, the silver lining here. You don't
Right, and
have
they
to
don't get
pay
fixed food
college
and they eat on their
tuition.
own.
They don't like tell you to screw off when they're like 13 years
Right,
old. So just
exactly.
if anyone is just as interested as I am, by all means. Seems like there are some upsides to the
Yeah,
neonatal
definitely.
hidden approach. And Summer, what are your thoughts on all this? Is the part of me feels like, I should know this answer, but I don't know this answer. Is this relay approach? Is this something common in the foster world? Um, what's your take on that?
I'm not sure. I mean, we learned that from when we worked with pot with the rescue that we used to work with,
Oh yeah?
and I I think they got it from somewhere from another rescue in Texas or something, Kat,
Oh,
It could
interesting.
be,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah, so it must be like somewhat common. I mean,
Okay.
burnout is so common in rescue, so this helps with that. I think we have some fosters that are crazy, and we're like, I want them for 2 weeks, but usually, what is it? Usually after like 5 days, Kat, they're like, so can I get a break?
I haven't slept in a week.
Yeah.
I get it. Like I've been there. I raised one of my kittens, or one of my cats by myself, and I know I had Summer and another friend to help me because I was like, I need sleep because I'm gonna be a walking zombie
Yeah.
if I do another night of bottle feeding.
But like I gotta say, if there's one thing to lose sleep over, man, it is these neonatal kittens. They are
Definitely.
so precious. They are so cute. They are
So
so
cute.
sweet. And I know, and maybe you can speak to this, like what does it feel like to you, or even like what have fosters told you it feels like to just be a part of that early life process? Do you still get that warm, fuzzy feeling, or has that been torn out of you at this point?
I think I get pretty excited over kittens. I don't do a lot of bottle feeding anymore personally. I just choose not to. But I just had a mom and babies in December. Kitten season still happening all year. I had newborns and a mom, and I was stupid goo goo gaga over them.
Oh,
So I still love babies, regardless,
okay. All
until they
right.
start pooping everywhere. And then you're kind of like, okay.
Seriously, seriously. It's funny. My partner and I, we are adopting a cat in like over the summer. He's a teacher, so we're gonna wait for him to be on summer break. Before this cat only bonds with me. I work with home like the rest of the cats. So it's funny, and we both volunteer at our local animal shelter, and everyone's like, "Are you gonna get a kitten?" And I'm like, "No, we're not gonna get a kitten. We're gonna get an adult independent, established cat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mostly because we get our kitten fix when we volunteer at the animal shelter. You know, we'll probably get our neonatal kitten fix when we start fostering and stuff like that. But like long term, we're like, give me like the oldest cat with one leg and one eye, please. I get my kitten fix elsewhere. So yeah, it's funny
Yeah.
to hear you say that they just put
And
the
those are the cats that nobody wants. Trust me.
and
Like
those are the
everybody
cats
wants a
nobody wants.
kitten, nobody wants an adult, and our adults are usually the ones that are losing out a lot. We
It's
have a
true.
couple that we've had over a year
Oh,
without any interest. It's kind of sad.
oh.
Yeah. But I
You
mean,
do
they're
hurt to
so
them.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
gonna
that's a
find them a
shame.
home. It just takes
Yeah.
longer.
It just
Yeah.
takes longer, yeah. And then it gets really exciting. And again, from volunteering at my animal shelter, I know that like, we just wait months and months and months and months, and then boom, the perfect person comes in and they're looking for an older cat, and it's like it just makes it all worthwhile. So,
Right. And those are like the moments, what we said in the beginning, those are like the happy moments when you have a cat that's been overlooked for like a year and then you finally find that person, that says like, this is it. And then they send you updates on how happy that cat is. That's really the best moments,
ah,
you
I
know?
love that. I love that. And I know, you shared a bit with, and this is going to be my last question for you both. So you shared a bit with us about the history of Kitten Snatchers, how you guys came to be. Can you maybe share with us your future goals for Kitten Snatchers, and how people can support your mission, be it donations, be it foster care. And I'm going to include the link to your organization in the show notes. So if you're listening, and if you're still listening, you're probably still interested. So yeah, maybe tell us a bit about the future for Kitten Snatchers, and how we can help you.
You
I
want to
mean,
take
uh, I just have to laugh because the other day we were driving in my car. We went to go get some puppies together. And we were in my car and we were talking about how, joking around about how big it's gotten, and we are like, let's not get any bigger, because like I don't really think, like, we want to keep saving as many animals as we can, but honestly, like, unless we found a third us, like, we would need like another person
Yeah.
to be one of us.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to happen. We have fosters and board members that are absolutely fabulous, but
Mm,
they still, they still, and it's not that they don't feel comfortable making decisions. I just think that at the end of the day, they know that Kat and I are the owners of the rescue and that everything has to go through us.
yeah.
So unless we actually like had like a third partner, I don't think that we can grow in that direction
Great.
with, like, okay, next year, let's make sure we've got 200 animals in the rescue at one time.
Right.
So I think the future is just to keep doing what we're doing, at least for me.
I
I
love
don't
that.
really even discuss that, but just keep doing what we're doing.
And that's
Survive.
underrated. Can I just say that's underrated? Continuing to do what you're doing is like great,
Right.
Right.
especially when you do it so well.
Yeah. Continue that. And then I think for me, one goal is not like growing, but is maybe like finding new channels where we can
Mm,
promote our animals in so that we can like, help more of animals. Like we don't want to like necessarily grow in terms of like, oh, let's have 30 more foster. Like we always welcome new fosters because not every foster stays forever. Like, and not everyone wants to have a revolving door of foster animals. So not saying we don't want new fosters, we always do. But also for us to like, find new channels where we can promote our animals, where we can find donations. I think we've grown a lot in that sense that we are way more stable now, in terms of like, hey, we can take a medical case because we know we're gonna like be able to raise the money. If you would have asked us like early 2021, we were like, oh, we don't know if we can afford that and how are we going
yeah.
to pay for this because we were so small still and so like, knew that it was hard for us to raise the money that we needed. And nowadays
Mm.
it's way easier. So yes, doing what we're doing and potentially just like with new channels and a few more foster homes would be fantastic too and new adopters and
New places to, yeah, like you said, new adopters, like new places to promote our kitties, because you know what? Majority of our adopters, I would say, actually come from South Philly. I don't know how they know we're from South Philly, but majority do.
They
And like
know. They got that Philly Spidey
they
sense. We
do.
know.
They're like, those are South Philly girls. But it just, we, we need to find other areas to touch. Like, when we do events in like other areas, maybe like an hour outside the city, we have a high number of adoptions because
Yeah.
nobody had ever heard of us. So, obviously it has to be within reason. We can't travel with cats for 4 hours and, expect them to be happy at an adoption event.
Yep.
But, just new locations, new areas. So if anybody knows anyone that's interested in doing an adoption event with us at their business, definitely reach out to us. That would be amazing. Kat would be more than happy to work on that project.
That
Absolutely.
sounds
Always.
that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing, really exciting, and I have to imagine that some of our audience members would be interested in that. And right now, I'm racking my brain for local businesses too. And I'm so happy that we have one comment, funny enough, from last week's podcast guest. Her name is Trish, and she runs the aptly named Black Cat Coven Sanctuary. So this has been like back to
Love
back
that.
weeks of badass horror themed cat sanctuaries. You can tell that I'm at the helm of this podcast, obviously. And Trish chimed in, and Trish is giving you guys lots of love for what you do. And Trish said that she's all about supporting smaller scale rescues. So yeah, I really appreciate this invitation that you're giving our audience to support you in more ways than one. And I know that there are so many different needs that your nonprofit has, that all nonprofits have. And I really want to encourage our audience members to check out the Kitten Snatchers website, follow them on Instagram, endless photos of adorable animals. I've been following you guys and double tapping on everything. And really find a way that you can support this incredible organization, whether it's making a donation, whether it is partnering if you have a local business, or if a friend or family member of yours is a local business and you're interested in putting on an event, an adoption event. That would be so cool. And please, I've noticed podcast guests don't do this enough. Please donate to Kitten Snatchers. And I believe they can do that on your website. Is that right? I'm sure I've seen that. That's
The
right.
information is on the website. Yes.
That's right. So check out the show notes. Give these ladies some love. I am so thrilled and happy that our paths crossed. And I'm really, really excited to continue watching your organization not not grow outward, grow inward.
Love it.
Whatever that means, that felt right to say. But I know like you guys are going to be streamlining your systems, really getting more, exciting volunteers, and hopefully raising more money so that you can continue to help animals in need in Philadelphia. So thank you both
Thank
so
you.
much for your wit and your wisdom and everything in between. I really appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. You're welcome. I can't wait to continue supporting you and sharing your stuff on social media. And thank you to our audience who tuned in today. Trish from Black Cat Coven Sanctuary. Ah, it's just so great. So great to see you here. And Trish is actually right outside of Pittsburgh. So
Oh, nice.
small world. Look at that.
Perfect.
All right, ladies.
Nice.
I will let you get back to doing what you do best, which is all things animal related. And I want to thank you again for your time and for everything that you do. Really appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Take care. Until next
Here.
time. Bye
Have a
bye.
great day.
Bye.